Why can't I find the right one? The right person to love me the way I want to be loved? Now that I think about it, I've asked myself that question many times, and usually it was attached to a disappointment in a current relationship or some level of heartache and heartbreak I was experiencing when I realized that this is the same one as that one. So here's the real question. Why do I keep attracting or falling in love with the same person with a different name and a different pair of pants or dress, depending upon your preference? That's the subject for today. Finding the right one to love me. So let's get right into it. One of my strongest spiritual teachings comes from A Course in Miracles, a text written by Helen Schumann and William Thetford in 1977. And without getting into a lot of details about the history of A Course in Miracles, let me say that the Course offers a series of principles and premises designed to support the reprogramming of the mind and the repatterning of your heart so that you can experience the fullness of unconditional love. And one of the premises of the Course that I love is you cannot solve the problem because you don't know what the problem is. I think that applies to the question of why can't I find the right one? So here's a few things I want to share with you and ask you to consider. The way we create relationships and attract partners is often not based on what we want. It's based on what we learned as children through experiences. It's based on how we were conceived, the energy we marinated in when we were in the womb. It's based upon what we heard and witnessed and experienced in our first 5 years of life, and what we were taught and what we made up about love and relationships. The way we create relationships, all relationships, and the people we attract into those relationships, all relationships, is a function of DNA and subconscious mental and emotional patterning and programming. Let me say that again. The way we create relationships, all relationships, and the partners and people that we attract, all people, all partners, is a function of our DNA and subconscious, that means we're not conscious of them, mental and emotional programming and patterning. Now let me say that in plain English. In all situations, under all circumstances, we will attract what we believe about ourselves and about love. And what we attract is a function of who we believe we are, what we have learned about ourselves, and what we have experienced in every single relationship. Furthermore, we cannot and will not attract the love we want and desire until we recognize and change those beliefs. Okay? Take a breath. We cannot solve the problem of attracting the right person because we do not know what the problem is. See, when a relationship goes south, more often than not, we believe the problem is the other person. What they have done or not done, what they have given or not been able or unwilling to give. As a result, we start looking and longing for a person who can give more, do different, and just generally be the right one. And in that process, we miss, overlook, or misunderstand that we created the relationship and attracted the person because of our unconscious beliefs and feelings about ourselves and about love. In response to who we believe we are, what we have learned about ourselves, and what we experienced in our earliest relationship. I know that's a lot. And here's the problem that we cannot find the solution for. We cannot find the right one because we think it is someone else. And you, my beloved, are the problem. And you my beloved, are the solution. You are the right one. I'm not going to give you yet another catchy motivational saying, you know the ones, you are the one you're looking for, you are the love you seek, blah, blah, blah. What I will say is this: clean, clear, and complete. We cannot solve the problem of attracting the right person because we create relationships and attract people based on our unconscious beliefs and feelings about ourselves as a function of who we believe we are and what we have learned about ourselves. This is what we experience. It's not based on how much money you have. It's not based on how much money you make or want. It is not based on how much we give or do. It is not based on how little we ask for or accept. Our relationships, all relationships, is a mirror reflection of the relationship you are having with yourself. Who you attract, what you attract, is a reflection of what we have learned, what we've been taught, and what we believe we deserve. Therefore, if and when we believe we cannot have what we want, cannot keep what we want, do not deserve what we want, and here's the big one, that what we want in a relationship must come from the outside. That is the problem. And we will never be able to solve it because we think something else is the problem. Okay, take another deep breath because I can feel your mind racing and the negative ego is going into resistance. So before you hit the I don't like this button, listen to this. Let's take me as an example. I've been very open in the world about the fact that I marinated in a toxic womb. My mother was an alcoholic and my father was a married man. I was born into an atmosphere of poverty, dishonesty, shame, guilt, and anger. But wait, it goes deeper. My brother was a severe asthmatic. From that, I was taught that his illness made him more important than me. And my grandmother, who raised me, worked long hours and often left my brother and I home alone. And from that I learned this, that love is fleeting. And in order to be loved, you have to do exactly what you're told and never disappoint the person telling you what to do. To get their love and to get their approval, you had to silence yourself. I was born to poor people of color in the 1950s. From that, I learned that I was less than other people, that I could not have what other people had, and a whole host of things I learned by the age I was 5. I believed those things were the absolute truth about me and life. I never saw a loving relationship between a man and a woman except on television. And what I saw was white people with money doing things that I had never seen done or experienced personally. Now, that's not about race as much as it is about who I thought I was and what I came to believe and what I experienced in my own world. So fast forward. When I started to create relationships, all types of relationships, I created them with people that I thought were more important than me, like my brother. People who would come and go in my life, like my grandmother, my father, and my mother, who died when I was 2. I created relationships with people who supported my belief that there was something I needed to do to get their love and keep them happy. People who would come and go in my life, people who were not shy about promoting their beliefs and their needs over my beliefs and my needs. I created relationships based on what I knew and what I saw. I was trying desperately to create the relationships that I had seen on television, but those were things I didn't believe I could have. Things that I had never seen up close. Things that I believed that other people had to give me in order for me to have. I could not give those things to myself because I wasn't enough. I couldn't take care of myself. I couldn't approve myself. And I didn't establish my value because I wasn't important enough. And I couldn't do enough in the right way to be okay with myself. We cannot solve the problem because we don't know what the problem is. And we cannot find the right one because somewhere deep down inside, in a place that many of us have not recognized or acknowledged, we do not believe, have not been taught, and do not feel that we are the right one. You are the right one, beloved. You are the right one for you to love. You are the right one to take care of you. You are the right one to nurture and nourish and encourage and inspire and comfort and care for you. And until we believe that, feel that, think that, and live that, we will keep attracting people who are walking, talking demonstrations of what we believe in the back of our mind.
Okay, well, on a more positive note, what make you feel powerful, like when dating?
Not compromising my values and like my standards and my requirements.
Yeah.
I think it just also depends to like where you guys are at in that stage of the relationship, because sometimes like you gotta just make sure you're giving it to the right person. I think that's important, because it's like when you start giving it to the wrong person, it's gonna like drain you.
Describe how taking control improves the overall dating experience.
I think you'll just be happier at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I'm very much in a space right now where I'm not doing anything that's gonna compromise my peace and happiness.
Period.
So I think just taking control, making sure you like maintain your power, don't give your power away to anybody, that I feel like is the key to like truly being happy in or out of a relationship.
I say don't have no regrets in life. Like,
live
I
your
feel
life,
like,
and you can't live your life based on like what other people are gonna think, how other people are gonna feel, because at the end of the day, it's you, it's your life.
Right.
So what's gonna make you happy? Like, I never want to look back and be like, oh, I wish I did, or oh, why didn't I, da-da-da. I'm gonna do it.
But that's what's dope about you, because I feel like people even come and do interviews, they come and do these kind of things and they sell it, but like you really live up to everything that you're saying. Like you have to do that, especially at your age, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't live with any regrets, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure it's probably some things that everybody feel like, I could have handled this differently, or I could have da-da-da-da, but do I regret the experience? Do I regret the lesson? Do I regret, I don't regret anything.
You learn so much in the process, so it's like I wouldn't trade the knowledge I got for anything.
Exactly. And sometimes you need those like mistakes or whatever they want to call it. You need those mishaps to know what to do better in the future. We got to stop living in what we could have done better, what we could have and move forward, and how we can become a better version of ourselves every single day, because time is not our friend.
Words are things, I'm convinced. You must be careful about the words you use, or the words you allow to be used in your house. In the Old Testament, we are told in Genesis that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. That's in Genesis. Words are things. You must be careful. Careful about calling people out of their names, using racial pejoratives and sexual pejoratives and all that ignorance. Don't do that. Someday we'll be able to measure the power of words. I think they are things. I think they get on the walls. They get in your wallpaper. They get in your rugs, in your upholstery, in your clothes, and finally into you.
The reality of what goes on, but what you gotta think about is when you don't have resources, you in survival mode. You know, so being in survival mode automatically rules out a lot of things, because you don't care about morality, because you don't experience morality. You experience, you know, the need to survive. You don't experience, you know, fairness. You don't experience planning for the future. You just experience my ribs touching. You know what I mean? And it's better me than you. And, you know, it's a survival instinct that kick in. So I think once you get out of the survival mode, your morals come back closer to your daily decision making. You start thinking about what's right and what do I believe in. But until you get out of survival mode, you ain't got time to be worrying about right and wrong. You worrying about bottom line, you know what I mean? By any means necessary. So I think that economics is the answer. Empowering people economically is how you really, really impact. But I don't know if it's about dropping a bag of money in the hood. I think it's about impacting culture in a way that, you know, the mentality changes. And then also, you know, the institutions that exist, it's just a prison institution, really. It's like a pipeline to jail. It ain't no constructive institutions for real that meet you ground level. It's just like if you fuck up, we got somewhere to put you. So it's like a fear-based, preventative approach than like some love. And like we know y'all going through a struggle, and we know y'all could use an art center or you know what I mean, a studio compound or entrepreneurial space. It's like whatever going on, if you can't figure it out, we gonna lock you up, bro. So whatever it is, yeah, it's on y'all. I think like you get people out of survival mode, they start thinking different. I did, you know, when I figured out, you know, how to get myself out of the situation, my approach to life and people was different. I wasn't so angry, I didn't have my guard up. I wasn't so aggressive, I wasn't so, you know, expecting, if you ain't helping me, fuck you. That wasn't the mentality no more. And I can't blame nobody, you know what I mean, that's thinking about how they gonna pay their rent, or like going through not having food at the house, being young and having to go outside to hustle to feed themselves for school clothes. That's gonna change people, that's gonna make you feel away. And you can't fault them, you just gotta kind of empathize with the scenario and understand. You put a person in survival mode, they're gonna survive by any means. I couldn't make a blanket statement to just the young people doing dirt. I don't think that's honest. You know what I mean? It's context for everything. Nothing happens in a vacuum, you know? But I would say that, you know what I mean, you're gonna lay in the bed you make. You're not gonna get away with nothing in terms of the energy. You know what I mean? You might beat the camera or the police. They might not catch you for what you're doing, but the energy is always gonna return to you. So when you just living in this cycle of being negative all day and just putting out negativity and that's the only energy you putting out, it's gonna return to you in different form than you put it out in. So I would just say, you know, master your energy. Do your best to master your energy and what you put out, you know, and unless that's what you want, you know, because you entitled to whatever you want to create, whatever experience you want to create for yourself. But if you're tired of that shit, adjust the energy. You know what I mean? As best you can. Adjust what you wake up thinking and what you say. And then lastly, what you do. And that's not an easy thing to do because it's such a pressure in these areas to just go by the way things are. But, you know, it's a lot of examples that you could look up to as young kids in the streets. You could look up to Kendrick Lamar. Not the words, forget what he's saying, just where he came from. I seen him, you could YouTube him freestyling in the Nicholson Garden Projects. You could look up to a Nip Hussle. You know, you could look up to a YG, you know what I mean, to a Top Dog, you know what I mean, to any one of these guys that came from this hopelessness and you know, wiggled their way through it. You know what I mean? And you could reverse engineer what they did. You know, look at the steps, what happened. You know, so I would say that.